I've owned two Sony A7IVs in the last 3 years as a full-time wedding photographer. And now with all these new cameras coming out soon, like the new A7V, I considered selling my perfectly fine cameras for something newer and more updated. So am I really gonna do it, or better yet, is the Sony A7IV still worth it in 2025? I'm gonna be bringing on my partner Jerry, who's also been using the A7IV but hasn't exactly had the same experience as me.
So I have a lot of experience with these cameras breaking, and that's what we're going to talk about today, isn't it?
So let's dive into what I love about the Sony A7IV. Number 1, full frame sensor. If you're a full-time photographer, this is a must. You get better low light performance, more details, and just that overall clean look to your images. 2, low light performance. Speaking of low light performance, the A7IV is amazing when it comes to it. We can't choose where you're going to be shooting, and a lot of times we have to shoot in dark places like churches or venues, and with this camera you can crank up the ISO and still get clean shots without too much noise and grain. Next up, 2 SD card slots. If you are charging for photography services, you absolutely can't afford losing images. If one card fails, no problem, you've got a backup. I would never shoot a wedding without it, and if you are responsible and you respect your clients enough, neither would you. 4, autofocus performance. The autofocus on the Sony A7IV is super fast and super accurate. It's got face detection and eye detection, and it really sticks to your subject like glue. That's a lifesaver when everything is happening at once and you cannot miss an important moment. 5, image quality. The image quality for me is flat out beautiful. The colors are true to life. It's not too saturated or undersaturated. The files are really sharp, which saves me so much time in post-production when I'm editing the photos. My second shooters have different cameras than me, and while they're still decent cameras and they produce good images, I have noticed that the A7IV gives me the better colors and contrast. So to me, the A7IV is king when it comes to image quality. Number 6, it's a great hybrid camera. I am a full-time wedding photographer, but I sometimes do wedding videography, or at least I help out. And I use my A7IV for that in 4K S-Log, and it's chef's kiss. Sure, there are cameras out there that can shoot 7 or 8K, but if you're just filming weddings, you don't need to go that crazy, like you're not shooting movies in Hollywood. And in my opinion, if you are investing in a pricey camera, you might as well get one that also nails video. 7, ergonomics and design. Finally, I love how it feels in my hands. It's not too bulky, it's not heavy, it's just right. All the buttons are within easy reach, even for my tiny hands. And let's be real, it looks really cool and expensive, which I appreciate. 8, lenses that I use. A quick bonus here is the lenses that I use on my A7IV as a wedding photographer. I like to keep my camera bag pretty simple, so I just bring these 3 lenses: Sigma 35mm f1.4, the Sigma 85mm f1.4, and the Sony 24-70 f2.8 G Master Mark II. Those 3 lenses cover everything I need for a wedding day: portrait, wide shot, detail, everything. Now, comparing it to other cameras, I know that there are cheaper cameras out there, and if you're on a really tight budget, you could snag an older model like the A7 III. But if you're buying new now, I would definitely go with the A7IV because it's more future-proof. It's also easier to sell later if you do upgrade. On the flip side, you can get more expensive models, but you might be paying for features you don't really need. For me, the A7 IV hits that perfect mid-range sweet spot because it's professional enough for almost any job, but not so pricey you have to sell an organ to afford it. So let's go ask Jerry about what he thinks and his experience with the Sony A7 IV. Cyclone Alfred is on its way and all I care about is A7 IV. But first, let's get coffee. Here we are. Here's your coffee, madame. How are you, Jerry?
I'm good now I got coffee.
So I'm here with Gerard, Needham.
What's up, yo?
Yep. Jerry, how long have you had your Sony A7 IV cameras for?
I own two of these A7 IVs. I bought one of them about 4 years ago, and I bought the second one a year ago. What I like about the A7 IV, one of them is this app. It's fantastic. I use this a lot for my filming, especially here on YouTube. I also like the autofocus performance. I test a lot of Nikon cameras, a lot of Fujifilm cameras, Canon, Lumix, and the autofocus all suck except for Canon and Sony. So they are the best, and the reason why I continue with Sony is because you can buy fantastic Sigma lenses and Viltrox lenses for basically a third of the price than a Sony lens.
Third question, what are the things that you don't like about Sony? What are your bad experience with Sony? Because I've heard you got quite a few bad experiences, so tell us.
I'm going to make this real short and sweet. Basically, the reliability of Sony cameras is absolutely terrible. I've broken two of these shutters under 200K shutter acquisitions. One was only about 6 months old and the shutter count was 98,000, which is completely unacceptable. It's a known problem with pretty much all of Sony cameras, whether that's the A7 IV, the R5, the A7 III. Another problem with this is that Sony's customer support and even their pro support is absolutely terrible. If you are a Nikon or a Canon shooter and you have this much gear, if you are a wedding photographer and you break a camera, they'll send you out a loan copy straight away. Sony take up to 3 months to fix their cameras. It takes about a week just to get a reply from them to send off the camera because they don't know what they're talking about. You're just talking to someone that's selling TVs. So, and then lastly, for whatever reason, I just keep having random little problems. Like at a wedding the other day, my card said that the card space was 999 when it was only a 128. I don't know if that's a card issue or a Sony issue, but it went away. I keep getting this camera overheating, but not this one in the studio here. Got no idea why. So customer support and reliability is not good. Definitely bring two cameras if you're going to a wedding, maybe a third camera.
All right, I want to say that this sucks, having all these problems. I personally never had my cameras break on me, which I think I'm lucky, right? Because I'm a little bit more rough with my gear. So it could happen to you, could happen to anyone or not. I think it's just luck. All right, last question. With all that said, do you still think the A7 IV is worth in 2025 and in the future?
Yeah, for sure. Just don't buy secondhand. Buy new, make sure it's brand new. You get a 2-year warranty and they do honor that if the shutter breaks. So just go out and buy new. Don't buy secondhand.
All right, so where can we find you, Jerry?
All right, guys, so if you want to see my socials, I have a YouTube channel and also Instagram. I'm a retired wedding photographer and filmmaker, and I talk a lot about portrait photography, landscape photography, street photography, and I test a lot of cameras here on the channel.
So, is the A7 IV still worth it in 2025? In my opinion, yes, 100%. And if you want a camera that is proven itself with weddings, events, and commercial work, it's fantastic. It will last you for a good while without feeling like you're missing out on crucial features. When will I upgrade? Honestly, I am probably not Sony's ideal client. I am a bit tight with my gear budget and I don't get the urge to buy every new model that comes out. So you bet I'll be using my A7 IV until they're begging for retirement. Unless, of course, some crazy next level camera pops up that will genuinely make my work better and my life easier. But for now, the A7 IV is all I need. If you're like me and you don't want a camera that's overly complicated but still nails professional quality photos and videos without breaking the bank, the A7 IV is where it's at. Now, if you want to dive deeper into the lenses I pair with my A7 IV on a wedding day, you should totally check out this video somewhere, and I'll see you there.